Well, the Rangers didn't win the World Series this year. They won it the year before. Bruce Bochy is manager. You know what happens every other year with Bruce Bochy teams.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. This episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. You may notice that this is a crossover episode. I am not alone. On screen right over there, I'm not touching you, is the host of the no longer World Series champion Rangers show. Please introduce yourself, please.
I'm Brice Paterik, host for 6 seasons now. Unfortunately, only one of those was a championship season. Actually, only one of those was even a playoff season because I'm hoping that Bruce Bochy keeps following that pattern of now that he's in the AL, it's odd year magic as opposed to even year magic.
Well, there we go. Hey, follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I am your pal Sully, but Sully Baseball on Twitter for now, and Sully Baseball Podcast on the Instagrams. And where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brice Paterik. You can find the show at Locked On Rangers and on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, well, one of the things that we're going to talk about on this show, there's been some managerial news. And the latest managerial news, and I'll just go over this pretty quickly because there's not a lot to report on this. The Miami Marlins have hired Clayton McCullough, who is a well-respected baseball man, to be their new manager. And he is going to take over a team that last year lost 100 games and sold off anything that wasn't nailed down. I'm saddened by this move, by the fact that the Marlins are in their current state, because you have to go all the way back to 2023, the last time the Marlins were competitive. And you know what? They were a playoff team in 2023. They made the wild card. They were a fun, young, exciting. Nobody thought they were going to beat the Phillies. But then again, nobody thought the Diamondbacks were going to beat the Milwaukee Brewers. Things like that happen. But, they got clobbered by Philadelphia in the playoffs. And, of course, later Philadelphia lost to Arizona. But they had a fun team. Luis Ariz was on that team. Jazz Chisholm Jr. was on that team. They had a nice year from Jesus Sanchez. They had some fun play from Gene Segura. Segura didn't have a great year, but Brian De La Cruz was pretty good. They did all that without having a Cy Young season from Sandy Alcantara. They were a fun, young team. Most of the players were under the age of 27. They had Jorge Soler was kind of their veteran guy, but they were a young team. They picked up Jake Berger down the stretch, and he clobbered the snot out of the ball. They had the batting champion, for those of us still pay attention to that, and Luis Ariz. It was a fun club. And so naturally, they were fun, they were energetic, they made the playoffs. And so naturally, they put 2 sticks of dynamite in and they blew it up and fired Kim Ng. And now Skip Schumacher won Manager of the Year. That year's gone. The Miami Marlins are a Mickey Mouse organization. And don't get mad at organizations like the Dodgers and the Yankees or the Mets for spending money. Get mad at organizations like the Marlins who get a team to the playoffs, and instead of building on it, blow it up, and you don't blame Marlin fans for that. Well, why don't they show up? Because they've been through that. 3/4 of the 1997 World Series champion Marlins were traded during the World Series parade. They were given new uniforms, and they were they were still sweeping up the parade when they were all traded away. I feel for Marlin fans. Marlin fans are some of the best fans in baseball if you still show up for the way this team has treated you. And a million of them did. So enough of that. But I will say, we're going to move on this main result when you talk to you about something, and I will let you get a word in edgewise.
I do want to make one note about the manager of the year, Skip Schumacher. He has already moved on. He is with the Texas Rangers in their front office. I mean, it took him no time at all for the Rangers to say, "Hey, let's get you in here." He is going to be a baseball ops senior advisor with Texas. That happened, I believe, 4 days ago as of this recording. So the Rangers were pretty quick to pounce on him. I mean, everyone thinks the world of Skip Schumacher. There's a reason he won Manager of the Year. I mean, that was a team that, maybe overachieved a little bit, but still had a lot of young talent too. Like, there was no reason to not just build on that and fire Kim Ang. Is just all of it with the Marlins. It's just such a head scratching organization. I mean, the fact that Schumacher landed on his feet not 3 seconds after he left, it was not a shock at all.
By the way, I remember there was this always happens when there are people who are criticizing Boone. They should get a new manager, and you hear some of the Yankee pundits say, "Well, don't just say who, or don't just say fire him. You got to have someone to replace him. If you're going to fire him, who are we going to replace him with?" And I just said, "Skip Schumacher. He's available." Boom. Next question. A manager of the year from 2023 was available. So if your response is no one's available, yeah, there are a lot of people available, including, and this is my transition, and get a drink, folks. I've always talked about hire some of Bruce Bochy's lieutenants as manager. I still have no clue why Hensley Mullins has never got former Yankee. There's another one. Hensley Mullins and Roberto Kelly, for former Yankee All-Star Roberto Kelly, former Yankee farmhand, and Hensley Mullins. There you go. They should be major league managers right now, or at least they're given a shot. However, one of Bruce Bochy's lieutenants was Will Venable, who was part of the Texas Rangers. What's the associate manager?
He was the associate manager, which not the bench coach. That's Donnie Ecker, who was also in the running for that White Sox job, but decided to end up staying. Venable was a guy who was kind of viewed. He actually came to Texas before Bochy, just the year before. But he was always kind of viewed as the manager in waiting, the heir apparent to Bruce Bochy, because when Bochy came out of retirement, he signed a 3-year deal starting in 2023, then 2024, and this is his last year under contract. He doesn't seem like he's for sure going to just hang it right back up. I think he probably would like to stick in Texas, and this is kind of a sign, I think, for me, of him saying, "Hey, I kind of want to stick around. Maybe you would be heir and sitting in waiting chair for quite some time." But I mean, the fact that the White Sox job was filled before the Marlins, and they're coming off one of the worst seasons we've ever seen a baseball team had, that was shocking to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're 2 100-loss seasons. Here's one reason why it didn't shock me as much. It's going to be hard for Will Venable to do worse. He is going to improve upon the White Sox. How did he do? Well, I did better than the worst team in the history of the 162-game schedule. Well, that's a start. That's a start. Well, you don't want to follow the legend. You want to follow the bomb.
Yeah, and with Venable, he was up for. He's up for a couple different jobs that he wanted to be, interviewed for, but he turned down because the Rangers were in the middle of their postseason run. And one of those was the Mets and one of those was the Guardians. And they both ended up in the league championship series. And I'm sure he saw that and thought, well, maybe I don't want to wait. You never know when a good job is going to come up. Not that I think the White Sox are going to go make the ALCS next year. I think that'd be the most insane thing to happen in the history of baseball. I feel like I'm not underselling that there, but he had some ties there to the GM, to Chris Getz, and he felt like this was his shot. And if you want to get a shot, you want to get some leash to go be a manager and figure out how to do it. I think you're right. Yeah, there's no better. You're not going to be fired for losing too many games with the 2025 White Sox. I feel pretty confident in saying
he was. He's part of a great baseball family. His father was Max Venable, who was an outfielder for mainly the Giants, but he bounced around a little bit in his career. He was one of these players who, especially in his years with the Mets and the Angels, kept popping up in my packs of Topps trading card. Max Venable, a good one if you're doing the Immaculate Grid. Max Venable is a pretty good one because people may not remember Max himself. And Max, if you needed a giant National/Expo Red Angel, bring out Max Venable. It'll probably be under 1 on your. I'm just giving you your immaculate grid treat there. I think it's smart to pick from the tree of successful managers. I've always thought that. You've seen, the Joe Madden begat. Joe Madden came from Lou Piniella. Dave Martinez came from John Madden. John Madden came from Mike Scioscia. Mike Scioscia came from Tommy Lasorda. Tommy Lasorda came from Walter Alston.
It sounds like those early books of the Bible when it's just so and so begat so and so.
Right. Well, but you see that, and then you see that Jim Leland came from Tony La Russa because he was Tony La Russa's. I mean, you a lot of times you'll see successful managers were coaches under other successful managers, and I think that's it's smart. And he's also someone, Will Venable has been, he's been a coach for several organizations. He's a coach for several playoff teams. The Cubs in 2018, the Red Sox when they made the ALCS a few years ago, and the Rangers in the World Series 2 years ago. So I think it's a smart move for the White Sox to get a good, solid baseball person there and to build up, to sort of build up from there. He's a Princeton guy. Will Venable is a Princeton guy, and has, is kind of a baseball lifer.
Absolutely. I mean, him and Chris Young, the two Princeton boys that helped the Rangers win their first ever title.
All right. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about, the Rangers' strategy, because it is going to be an interesting offseason for the Texas Rangers, especially with some of their free agents and who they should be making a run at. So we're going to talk about it. But first, hey, let's talk to our friends over at Gametime. I've used Gametime. I use Gametime to get my tickets for Game 6 of the National League Championship Series this year, where I saw the Dodgers win. Now, some people have been criticizing me because I've been talking a lot about the Dodgers and I was openly rooting for them. First of all, I was openly rooting for them partly because I had tickets to Game 6 of the National League Championship Series, and I kind of wanted to go. And I also live near here, and it's more exciting to have the World Series with the local team because people around me still want to talk baseball. If you think they want to talk to me when it was Texas versus Arizona, but that's not the point. The season is over. The World Series is over, but you can still use Gametime for the best sporting tickets, comedy tickets, theater, concerts. And Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams or events live even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And you get seat views. Get the panoramic view from the seat in the app before you buy. Lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. And Gametime ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app. Use a Howard Cosell cadence. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code, and I swear it says spell out Locked On MLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it?
It's game time.
That's why we kept both screen on. I swear it does say spell out Locked On MLB.
It does.
By the way, in case you're wondering, how to spell MLB is MLB.
Oh, I was going to say MLQ. I was so close.
No, the Q is silent. All right. What the heck am I even talking about? All right. Let's talk about the Texas Rangers. They're playing in the American League. And if there's one thing we've learned about the American League, it is you can turn things around fast. You could be a 100-loss team in 2021 and be in a World Series parade in 2023. You could have a 100-loss season in 2023 and be in the playoffs in 2024. It happens. It's there. And there is no super team in the American League. There are some super teams in the National League. There's parity. Look, if the Yankees are the super team, and they're a fine team, but they are a flawed team, and who may lose Juan Soto because in order to get Juan Soto, you offer him the most money of anyone else, and the Mets want to do that. So he will not be a Met only if the Mets don't want him. So what I'm saying is, while the Rangers did have a disappointing defense of their World Series title, I do not see any reason for them to think about 2025 as a rebuild season. There were only a few games under 500, and we all have seen that this is a league where you could switch things around really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, this team was buyers at the deadline. They still thought they were in it. They were not nearly as good as they were the year before. I mean, the main reason for that is their offense. Just so many guys who had career years, had career best years in 2023, had career worst years in 2024. I mean, the fall off was insane. I mean, from just you look all the way around up and down this lineup, so many all-stars that had just bad seasons. Jonah Heim, one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball last year. Marcus Semien, massive down year. Right. Josh Young missed most of the season due to injuries. Same with young rookie phenom Evan Carter. Wyatt Langford had a good end to his rookie year, but still, he was a rookie who spent all of 2 months in minor league baseball and was ready for the majors. But when you're counting on him to be your second best hitter all season to Corey Seager, that's not necessarily a recipe for success. So
Jonah Heim's OPS was 602. His OPS was 602. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was rough for him and Adolis Garcia after, a near 40 home run season, that ALCS for the ages. I mean, he set the record for most RBIs in a playoff series or a playoff run. And he only played the first 2 games of the World Series. I mean, he was incredible. And this year, he was terrible. He was really bad. Yeah. And so there's a lot of reason for, there's not going to be a whole lot of spending, I think, this offseason. There will be some. I think Nathan Eovaldi, bringing him back, is going to be one of their top priorities. Same with Kirby Yates, who was incredible. I think they're definitely going to take a big run at Roki Sasaki, who just got posted from Japan. I mean, when the Rangers announced that Chris Young was signed to an extension, he was literally in Japan scouting. He won't admit it, but absolutely. It was Roki Sasaki.
Well, I mean, Seager was really the only one. I mean, he didn't have a great year, but at least he had he was fine.
Yeah, well, he had a bad first month or so because he was coming back from sports hernia surgery. So he missed he got that at the end of January. So he missed most of spring training. So basically that first month of the season was him doing spring training at the major league level. So after that, he was basically the same Corey Seager. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there was not a whole lot of offensive upside. Pretty much
which by the way is one of the reasons why I have a little bit of trust in the Rangers moving forward into 2025. They may just need one player in their lineup who had a garbage year last year. If the players play closer to what we're expecting for them, just across the board. I'm not even talking about career years. I'm just talking if you go from bad to mediocre, that in itself is an improvement.
I mean, Marcus Semien.
Also, I just want to throw out that Wyatt Langford, who was not part of the World Series championship team, 22 years old, was one of the. I mean, he didn't have a Mike Trout rookie year, but he is that type of spark plug player that may, if he continues to improve, and Seager and Semien have the years you think they could have, and Garcia could definitely bounce back from his rotten season he had last year, right there, you've improved your lineup exponentially.
Yeah, and I mean Langford, he had a good month of June. He spent some time on the IL with a hamstring injury, came back right before June and won AL Rookie of the Month and looked really, really good. And then in July, he was just not good. August, he was not good as well. And then in September, he was phenomenal. He won not just September AL Rookie of the Month, but he won September AL Player of the Month.
Yep.
I mean, a 996 OPS. This guy finally turned it on with the power. He wasn't really hitting for power. He's hitting the ball hard, but it was mostly on the ground. He started lifting it. He started, he had so many electric moments all season. It was kind of like, more in between. It wasn't every single day, but I mean, the amount of great moments he had, that walk-off grand slam against Garrett Cole. He had the cycle on Sunday Night Baseball. His first home run of the season was a inside the park home run. And he had I think multiple walk-off home runs. I know he had multiple walk-offs. I think the grand slam might've been his only walk-off home run, but I mean, the guy made some electrifying plays, absolutely electrifying. And so if he takes that next step, I'm not saying he's going to have a 996 OPS for the whole season like he did in that final month, but he really started to make those strides. And it's hard for rookies now with so little in the minor leagues to just jump up and, be Mike Trout or Juan Soto or whoever. You just jump up immediately your first year in the majors, tear it up. But it's a learning process, and he's just did everything the Rangers asked and got better and better. And so hoping just his improvements and health from hopefully Evan Carter and Josh Young, and also everyone just play what you expect, not career years. Just go back to being the average version of the back of your baseball card. And this is a significantly better team.
And I think some people don't think about that when they're putting their analysis of a team moving forward. They think that, they're almost this assumption that players are going to play the way they did the previous year, not taking into account some of these players have shown that they are better than that. Well, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the pitching staff and the free agency that could be looming and making some very difficult choices for the Rangers moving forward.
This show is brought to you by Gametime. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Right now, they've got the only odds they've got for Major League Baseball are the 2025 World Series. Shocker, the Dodgers are the favorites at plus 400 to repeat as champs. The Rangers down there tied for 9th place at plus 2,500 with 4 different teams, the Guardians, the Cubs, the Mariners as well. So go to FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I'm here with Brice Paterik. We know Nathan Eovaldi is hitting the free agency route. Tell me a little bit of your thoughts of some of the pending free agents with Texas right now. And do the Rangers have a shot of bringing them back or filling them with other options?
Well, I think that the Rangers are going to really want to bring back Nathan Eovaldi. I mean, he is just such an integral part of this clubhouse. The mentorship relationship he has with the young pitchers on this staff. They've got a couple of really young guys in Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter with a lot of upside, a lot of hope on them. Both former first-round picks, both out of Vanderbilt. And so it's not just the presence that Eovaldi has on the mound, the consistency that he's had the last couple of years, and the playoff ability. I mean, there are very few guys in Major League Baseball who I would feel more comfortable on the mound in a playoff game than Nathan Eovaldi. He had a vesting player option that did end up vesting if he had combined 300 innings the last 2 years. He had a $20 million player option. Should he have chosen to want to take it, He didn't because he knew he could make more on the open market. The Rangers are going to be very interested in bringing him back. And I think there's a lot of mutual interest as well. I think he likes it in Texas. Obviously, he likes winning. And so last year was not fun for him. But he was really keeping this Rangers team in it while they were waiting on the likes of DeGrom and Scherzer and Tyler Mahle to get back and get healthy. Eovaldi did his job and held it down. But yeah, I think bringing back Eovaldi is going to be a very, very high priority for Texas. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a huge, huge market because, I mean, everybody saw what he did in that Game 5 of the World Series last year in 2023 and what he did in so many other of his playoff starts, not just that year, but in his career. I mean, there are so many guys, so many teams. If you're in contention and you think you don't need Nathan Eovaldi, I think you're wrong.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously I remember him, what he did in ironically, the one World Series game he lost where he came out of the bullpen and threw 6 innings out of the pen until he let up 1 home run to Max Muncy, but still he saved the Red Sox bullpen and the Sox won the World Series.
Well, he talked about how much he's like, yeah, that's my iconic playoff moment. And I don't want it to be a loss. And that Game 5, that was, I think, a redemptive moment in a big way for him. Yeah, 6 shutout innings. He was battling against a no-hitter on the other side with Gallen. Mm-hmm. And he's just working out of jam after jam after jam. And the Rangers end up scoring. And I think he got credit for the win. He did
get credit for the win. And it was really, as someone who's always been a Nathan Eovaldi fan, look, I'm not a big believer in the win-loss record, but I love the fact that he was 5-0 that postseason.
Yeah, the Rangers could not have done it without him.
Right, and and I think they should reward him as such. I'm doing a thing this off season where I'm doing the greatest postseason moments for teams that lost that game, and so there are things like the Rajai Davis home run or the Endy Chavez catch. There are things that
the Josh Hamilton home run in Game 6.
Josh Hamilton in Game 6.
I can talk about that. It doesn't hurt me anymore. It holds no power over me because right there, that banner. I'm like, no, yes, none of that matters.
Shield. And I would definitely put Eovaldi's performance in that game.
Oh yeah,
as one of the and a walking reason why the win-loss record tells us virtually nothing. He lost that game. Who lost it? Yes. Good job. Thanks. He was looking around to the Red Sox office and thinking, hey, guys, thanks. Really appreciate it. You got a lot of soul. Appreciate it. How's Jacob DeGrom going to be?
I feel pretty confident in him. I mean, the velocity was down just a little bit at the end of the year, but I mean, it was really fun watching him on his rehab stints because Jacob DeGrom throwing 100 miles an hour against a bunch of AA kids, and then he just whips out a 92-mile-an-hour slider. It's deeply unfair for both major league hitters and AA hitters. I feel really confident about DeGrom. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a 220 inning ace, make 32 starts, but I feel pretty confident because, I mean, part of the reason that he'd been hurt all these last years is just he was trying to avoid Tommy John surgery. And so I think now that, they bit the bullet and said, okay, all right, this is what's happening. I feel confident in him, giving the Rangers a little bit of bulk, maybe 150 innings. If he does that, I'd feel over the moon. But I think it's so important to bring back Eovaldi because the rest of this rotation, there's a lot of question marks about health and durability. I think Rocker is going to be very good, but he's also coming back from Tommy John surgery. Heck, 3 out of their 5 starters in their projected opening day rotation are coming off of Tommy John surgery, and DeGrom, Tyler Mahle, and Kumar Rocker. And so with Rocker, he hasn't really had that full workload in the minor leagues yet. I mean, he had 5 starts or so in his first year-ish, which was 2023. Then he had Tommy John surgery, and he came back this year and looked amazing and looked pretty darn good in the major leagues as well. And Mally's never been a guy that's super durable anyway. And so I think adding that one more guy who you feel pretty confident in taking the ball every 5th day and also gives you that kind of extra oomph in your playoff rotation. If the Rangers get to the playoffs, you have Jacob DeGrom, your game 1 starter, Nathan Eovaldi, your game 2 starter. It almost doesn't matter which of the rest of those guys is in that rotation behind him. But I am really optimistic about watching Jacob DeGrom. And now that I've gotten my World Series, I'm just like, every Jacob DeGrom start this is what I'm looking for. Just watching this guy go out there and be special. And you know what? However many innings and starts he gives the Rangers, I will be emotionally okay, no matter what that is. The Rangers would like him and need him to give them those 30 starts and hopefully 150-ish innings, maybe more. But I feel pretty good about him coming back and just being really freaking good and reminding people that, yeah, I've missed a lot of time, but when I'm healthy, there's always that qualifier. I am the best freaking pitcher in baseball.
And also, I think that, and having him there, but I think this is you touched upon another reason why, no matter what the price tag is, it's important to bring back Eovaldi. Ask what he wants and give it to him. Eovaldi's got 2 World Series rings. They love him in Texas. Hell, they loved him in Boston for that matter. But the fact of the matter is, beyond the fact what he could do on the field, when Bochy was developing the great Giants teams where they had those fabulous pitching rotations, in 2009, they had both Randy Johnson and Barry Zito on the team. Neither one of them were the Cy Young Award-winning greats. But having those pitchers on the team as you're developing the Lincecums, the Canes, at the time Jonathan Sanchez, and the next year arrived a fellow named Bumgarner, I don't think that hurt having someone like that on your team. When the Braves were developing their great pitchers, they brought in Charlie Leibrandt. And Charlie Leibrandt was the veteran pitcher who was kind of like the been there, done that. He had a couple of okay seasons with the Braves, but having him there with all these great pitchers that were being developed through there, I think helped. Having Eovaldi and DeGrom on this team.
They also had Scherzer for last year. I mean, he didn't pitch all that much, but yeah.
Yeah, but now you have, if you have DeGrom and you have Eovaldi, and you have the Kumar Rockers, you have the Light, you have all these young pitchers who are there, and you're trying to develop the next wave, hoping the bats at least get to the mean and have a decent pitching staff. Guess what? You won 78 with a crap lineup last year. 85 wins is probably enough to punch a wild card ticket. And it's the American League. There's no super team. So
Rangers feel pretty good about playing some road playoff games. They showed that in 2023. They were terrible on the road the regular season in 2023 and also in 2024. But maybe it's just playoff games on the road, and that's where the magic is.
Well, the magic is always when Brice Paterik shows up to do a crossover of Locked On Rangers, Locked On MLB. Tell me where they can follow your show.
You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers on Twitter or wherever on YouTube, wherever your podcast. You can follow me at Brice Paterik on Twitter as well.
And you can follow us. We're at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And I'm your pal Sully. At least for now, I'm at Twitter at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the 2025 World Series champion, Texas Rangers with Brice Paterik. This has been a Locked On MLB, Locked On Rangers crossover. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, I'm on my knees imploring you to call me Sully.